this computer. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the Development Metrics Working Group for the last week of May 2019. And as stated before, I'm taking over for Christopher to help facilitate, but he will stay on as the executive stakeholder, and that the team has increased a bit, adding people that are working on the metrics itself and also a line of communication to the support department. So why don't we go ahead and go through the persistent links, and let me share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yep.
So this is the MR merge per author per month per charts. Given it was contribute, I think we're doing pretty okay, which is pleasantly surprising. I don't have the crystal ball like Christopher, so I don't have projections. We will still need to rely on Christopher for that. But given this, I think we should be on target to at least be on the same pace as the month of February, which is in our recovery period after the previous dip. And do we need monthly motion Mars? I checked this last night, and it's not too shabby at all. So it's actually more than the month of February 2019. Dali, you have any insights on like what are we doing right that that is causing the numbers not to dip too much this time?
I don't know if I have as good of a crystal ball. What I've heard anecdotally is that actually a lot of people left very energized from Contribute, and I heard that they had like some of the most productive week was the week post Contribute, because a lot of people were so motivated, so happy coming out of the event that they just like sat down, heads down to finish their work. You know, some of it is also we're wrapping up a release right now, so we're heading into feature freeze, and the teams are starting to notice that it's good to get a lot of your MRs up and ready before that last week. So I mean, like I said, I feel like these are somewhat anecdotal, but like they're also contributing data to how the teams are responding to the changes that we're making, which is good. It's really good to see it, you know,
awesome.
having a positive uptick.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this should be like a tribal knowledge or anything, but before Contribute, like stage your MRs, and then like when someone gets tired, they go to their hotel room. Hey, I'm going to review something, and then keep your throughput that way. But yeah, I think it's great. We probably need to rotate on that a little bit before we make it like a guideline or anything. This is great. Yeah. I'll wait for Christopher to come back and we can revisit this chart again, and then let's see the numbers from his projections. And this is, so thank you, Tanya, for updating this. We need to automate this as soon as we can. Part of it is us also hiring for more engineers in the engineering productivity as well. So looking at the data, this is so it seems like it's trending down because we are at the tail end of May, correct? And we see a dip of the 95 percentile to 188, which is a lot better than 330 days. Averages ones are still 44. Okay. Is it scalable for us to update this sheet for a few more iterations, Tanya?
Absolutely, yeah. This only takes me a couple of minutes. It's no big deal whatsoever.
Okay. Maybe you and I can sync up tomorrow when you on your time off. I can do this on my own, or maybe program me.
And there are actually, if you go all the way to the left, there's an instructions tab, so it should already be set up to do it.
Oh wow, awesome. Oh, cool. Alrighty then. I will run with it. Thank you. And this is the S1, S2 time to close, correct? And then this is customer. Okay, this is good.
The only worry here is that also the number of things that we've closed this month has gone down. So that could be contributing to we could have chosen bugs that were less old.
So. I think we need another metric to look at the number of bugs closed per month. We think we do have that right now already from what Mark has implemented.
That's there. That's in this black dotted line.
Oh, really? Okay, got it. My
Yeah.
apologies. This is the count? Ah,
Yep.
perfect. Wow, impressive. Okay, and we are keeping the old data, correct? Like when we update it, we just add the additional missing data, or did we?
No, right now this is not keeping the old data.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I think that might be a minor adjustment that we can do, where if we export the CSV, we just need to paste the additional days or weeks that is exported, and we keep the long running thing until we can automate our way out of this. Hopefully soon. I'll probably add an update at the next meeting. I don't think we have any updates there yet. Lyle, Dahlia, any comments here? Is it too soon to call improvements? Should we monitor this for another month?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's good to see, but I feel like we still want to have line of sight to it. I don't know that I'm happy necessarily calling it that we've made the right adjustments. I want to really drill into the practice with the team.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's monitor this. It seems like we are pulling down a bit. Okay. Let's move back to the agenda then. I will stop sharing. Should we go through the list of hypotheses? 1 second. So forgive me if I'm doing this wrong. Please call me out. This is my first time. Do we go through the red? We do not, correct? We just go through the black ones that are still in flux.
Yeah, and maybe I'll jump in and make this a little bit quick, given Christopher's not here, so I'm not sure that we'll have an update on number 7, I believe. But Clement and I have definitely not had bandwidth to take a look at our hypotheses. And Meg, you and I talked about, is this the right priority to focus on, or should we focus on some of the other activities that we're doing, which I know there are topics for further down in the agenda. So if this is a good time to talk on whether we still see value in pursuing some of these hypotheses, I'm more than happy to stay on it and try to make progress. But at this time, a lot of what my bandwidth is spending on is moving some of this data to Periscope and coming up with dashboards, which I think I would personally find more valuable, but I'll put it out to the rest of you and see what you think.
Okay, sure. I agree. I think we need more data, and I'd rather rotate on that than kind of guessing our way out of hypotheses. I think we should revisit this once we have new metrics automated. Though I think this was owned by, is this owned by Clement? Should we have him chime in, or do you have the latest update from him?
Well, the update is that he's had to kind of put this on the side because we're revamping the front end assessment. So that's where he's spending most of his time. So there's not update particularly on these items, myself included, because of that. Okay,
got it. Let's not spend time here then. We don't have to over rotate. Let's jump into the meat of the agenda. Okay, so recording is done. Status on persistent links. Status on hypotheses is done. Tanya, you have the first one.
Yeah, just a quick FYI that I added a date to the top of the spreadsheet of the other spreadsheet, and as well as this file, to say when I last updated, and just in the meanwhile while we're trying to get it automated, so that you know when it was last touched.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we want to automate this, and maybe Mark, you can let us know what's the pathway to get this the time to close charts in, and should we just do it in the native GitLab feature?
I was thinking we do it in the dashboard, the quality dashboard. I think it'll be easier for now for us to get it in there. I should have something very soon to automate this. I was working on it today.
Great, thank you for that. Yeah, I think we have a mandate of we don't want to add new features, but I'm concerned about the population of the data, because we have analyzed MRs on whatever we have imported and the list of projects that Dahlia has graciously worked on and gave to us, right? So I think the analysis on this makes sense if we're doing it on the same population. So we may need to we need to be flexibility on, hey, we still need to augment the quality dashboard and not native GitLab Insights. I think we're still blocked on the exclusion and inclusion mechanism for native insights. This meeting is not the place to discuss, so I'll not dive into detail. Okay, so if you can update us in the next meeting, that would be great, and we can work together offline on how this can go. Thank you, sir. My next agenda item, so this is what Dahlia posted earlier before. We're working with Emily, and we're gonna divide and conquer because there's so many things to do. I'm very pragmatic, like not one team should own everything. Like if we can do something faster in this venue, let's go ahead and do it. If Emily is there, can help us get like the merge time done in Periscope, yeah, let's go ahead and do it because we need that anyways as a 50 feet level view for Sid, Eric, Christopher, and whatnot. Dahlia, you want to give us an update here, please?
Sure. So I posted a link. Emily created an issue. One of the things we did last week is move the pulse survey to Periscope. So we're gonna use that same dashboard. I'm suggesting we call it like development dashboard, but basically it'll start to look like the collection of the metrics that we wanna look at, which is like, I would love that because that's what I would like to see. So we're gonna add another chart for this particular, so I refer to this as cycle time, but if we want to call it mean time to merge, that's perfectly fine as well. But we're going to start to move to implementing that chart in Periscope.
I would say let's call it mean time to merge.
Okay.
Virginia is not able to join, but she has requested recording for this meeting, and she's calling VSN cycle time as well.
Okay.
And then we have potentially someone new joining in engineering productivity who has used this term before, the mean time to merge, mean time to remediate, all that stuff. And
okay.
Hopefully that can add value to this meeting as well. Yeah, another comment on this, I think the MRs count like backstage and test automation as well. Like, should we just call it engineering metrics, or do you want to call it still development metrics? It's up to you.
Okay, let me think about it. I at the end of the day, I do want to categorize it as well. Like, I'd like to know how long a bug takes, like a bug MR takes from the time it gets created to the time it's merged, because that's good to know, okay, as well as feature and so on. So we should start to see these lines actually differentiate between what a backstage, mean to resolve time looks like versus a feature versus a bug.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. I have the next two. So there are two more links on fixing, addressing time to resolve customer S1, S2 bugs. If you click on that, this is a visualization on mean time to solve. So is this the one that we touched on earlier, right, Mark? This is the one you're looking at, correct? It's just a repackage of it here again, because this is essentially what Tanya's dashboard is.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
Awesome, thank you, sir. I will add a note here.
So Mark, given that we're kind of feeding from the very similar data, would you like to take a look at Periscope as well, or you prefer to, do this and then the next iteration will be to move it to Periscope?
I'm not sure what the approach is. I don't know. I haven't seen Periscope at all, but okay, I think we've got 3 different places where we could potentially implement this. But for me, it's faster in Insights, okay, for now. But I'm not sure what
okay
is the best.
Okay.
Let me chime in there. I think we need to divide and conquer. But I did include both Remy and Mark to tag along in your issue with Emily. So
okay,
be there as an FYI, but I think we need to paralyze.
Yeah. No, I get it. And we're really trying to kind of minimize the investment in these other areas. So like outside of the GitLab product, we don't want to spend a lot of time. I was just curious if maybe we should yes, we need to divide and conquer, but have everything, geared toward Periscope. If we feel that that's where things should live, at least in the interim while we implement the product. So sorry, side.
Yep, I appreciate that. I think it makes sense. Probably we will revisit this once Remy and Mark has finished delivering some of the charts. Just to not spread them to them, but thank you. I appreciate that. We also have another dashboard working up. This is the this is what the other thing you were asking for, which is a dashboard for each stage. And if you click on that link, we could potentially do this, but it's based off labels. We have automation in place to, if it has a shard label, add a parent stage label, and like the data hygiene is done that way, which is pretty simple and easy to do. Though it takes some CI runners and like the next day to get it updated, which I think is fine. And I think this is going to be useful for support as well, to see like in which stage how they're doing. We could also extend this to also include throughputs for each stage from what you were requesting. But then we need to start enforcing stage labels on MRs, which I think is fine in that case. You can just auto update it or auto add. If we detect the create label, then add that stage and then the parent structure after that.
Yeah, I had a topic further down. Maybe we should talk about this then, but you know, as we're growing and splitting team, this is getting really complicated to manage with labels. I'll defer to you if you'd rather wait till we get to my bullet point or just.
No. It is relevant. Let me just.
Okay. Cool. So let me kind of verbalize a summary of what I put here. We have, at least on my side, and I know on Tim's side, we have teams that are growing, and I'm speaking of backend teams that are starting to split. So for instance, we just hired a second monitor manager. So the monitor backend team is going to split into two. Similarly for secure, we are now splitting into two secure backend teams. We're looking to grow and split the front end team and so on and so forth. So what we're finding is that as we split, adding more labels, one, it's starting to create a lot of overhead. The data accuracy is going down. It's tribal knowledge to get people to learn to do this and so on. So my proposal here is we need something to scale a little bit better, and labels is a manual way of ensuring that we have data integrity. I'm proposing that we do it based on a team membership. So if we can, we start to track where people are based on the team membership, and that'll be an easier definition, because basically what it says is like secure backend team one is these individuals, and whatever these individuals contribute to ends up reflecting in their chart, and so on and so forth. And we can make adjustments as people move around or as we grow the team, add new engineers and so on. So just putting that thought out there for you to move away from using labels for the purposes of development metrics and quality metrics, when like something that relates to what are these individuals contributing to.
I think we need both. Here's the reason why. If you go by person and add that logic into the database, I don't know how you're going to track historical data once that person moves to another team, and we do that all the time. Because if somebody, for example, we just got Camille, right? And if you track it by person, it means that person and all his historical MRs is now moved to another group. So the label mechanism solves that problem by nature, because it's caching, right? You cache the state, you save the state at that point in time, and then the count, the unit just counts to that. So I think we need two, meaning we should keep a roster of person in whatever given time window, then auto apply the team label that person is on at that given point in time. So it's like it's actually pulling from the person, right? But then we have a mechanism and a location to store that information. And as much as I don't like saying it, we still need labels, because bugs, S1, P1s, whatever is a label. And if we don't use labels, it's going to add complexity to the database. And I'm not sure we have the bandwidth to implement all that, because that's almost like creating another development project.
That's okay. Mike, you came up with a great proposal. I like that. I like if we can automate based on the author putting the right label, and we're going to start to define a ton more, because we want to get visibility into, you know, the specific team, whether it's back end or front end and so on. But if all that is automated and we're not relying on humans to label these correctly, yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Yeah, I think we need to take the middle ground, and thank you for listening. Let's go with that then. Let me create an issue to auto add team labels by author. And then we can also push for, I linked an issue down there where we're going to use Bamboo HR as a single source of truth. I'm not sure where it's at yet. But given all the effort that Eric and Christopher has been doing to clean up Team YAML, that should be the single source of truth. We can even add another value, like what's the team name for that person? And then when somebody moves around, handbook is the single source of truth. You update that, and then the triage bots just pull from there and then just assigns the correct label from there. Yeah, my approach is like small, boring automation scripts that just
that's okay. That's perfect. What I'm trying to get away from is the complexity that we're introducing is going to start to really impact the data integrity, and that's what I'm more concerned about.
Yep.
So I like your proposal. Let's go with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Maybe can I poke in as with the support perspective? We're talking about primarily labeling MRs here, right? Okay. So for issues, that's where I feel more concerned. I don't have a solution. I'm just complaining. But as things get more complex, it gets more difficult for a support team to like keep all of that in mind as we're creating bugs and getting stuff out there. Does anybody have any thoughts for a way that there's a both and solution, or do we just have to suck it up?
No, you don't have to suck it up. And this meeting is a place for you to complain.
No, I want to find a solution too. I'm looking for ideas.
Complaints to me is a blessing, so please complain more. I linked something for you here on we need help from support to define what we need from Zendesk. And this came as like an idea when James Ramsey and then Cynthia and I were drinking at the open bar at Contribute. Some of the missing information. So I'm coming from Zendesk tickets, and we're asking support to like, hey, can you please add this information from Zendesk in this bug so we know? And I assuming when you say issues, you mean bugs, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So
usually.
Yes, usually. Yes. So we were thinking of creating a bot. I'm sorry if I overuse this bot term because we have so many of them. Create a token, an access token from Zendesk as read-only. Have the bot, when somebody posts a Zendesk link, call an API call on the URL of that Zendesk link, and then pull the labels that we need from Zendesk and add it as a comment, with scrubbing any sensitive data. So like I don't think we should disclose deal size or whatever, but we should know whether if it's a paid customer, what's the size? Like we can come up with our term like small, medium, large, and then like, hey, this is like paid customer, medium, right? And then like roughly what's there, and then that will solve this as a really simple, boring iteration. But we need more people to work on it. Genshin is looking into it right now actually we're dogfooding serverless with Dylan's team, because now we want this to be like a reactive service where once a support engineer posts a Zendesk link, it would just be serverless. Like, hey, it's event driven, go and grab data from Zendesk and just add it there. And then when the PM comes and look at it, everything is there. You can complain to the PMs or to us like, hey guys, there are like 5 Zendesk links, all paid customers, all medium. What's going on? Why aren't you prioritizing this? So this is like the first step of that. What else do you see we can help you with?
I think for me that solves a number of things, but I think the stage label is still kind of the sticky point, where it's like, who does this bug belong to?
Yeah.
Just to add a little point, we are currently adding some automations for inferred stage and group labels. So the new group labels that are beneath the stage, we're adding some automations to infer those labels from subject labels. So if you had merge request, for example, it'll add a stage label of create and the relevant group. I can't remember what that is. And we've done that for every single subject label. So we've got an MR for that, and it will do that every night. So as long as the subject labels on the issues are correct, then we'll go through and apply a stage label and a group label. So if it's merge request, you just add merge request and we'll do the rest.
that sounds good.
And Mark, when you get a chance, would you mind posting a link to that or tag us in it?
Yeah, I
That's
can.
awesome.
I can
Thank you.
post it now.
Cool. Sorry, this is something that I've been discussing with Virginia kind of back and forth in an issue. And so it's just heavy on my mind. But I'll give it a think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's
No,
it.
go ahead.
I need to keep on thinking about it.
I was going to ask if you can please link the issue first so we can get more context and help.
I'll get that right now.
And Virginia is requesting the recording. I think she's busy, but hopefully we can get her in on this meeting as well. Cool. So tag on that, moving on to the next agenda item. In line with how we want to enforce SLAs, Zendesk information helps part of the picture. There is an effort on us to clean up the definition of what does it mean when an issue is triaged, and we have level 1, which is like half completed, and quality engineering is actually taking this on ourselves. So if you can click the issue 62448, every new issue that gets created gets fanned out to everyone in quality engineering. So we're averaging at about 3 a day right now, and we will try to actually get the stage labels right at first pass. Happy to take this on, but then after that, it's in the hands of the PMs and EMs to get prioritization and milestone in. We're not there in the level 2, which is the completed level yet, but we're making great progress with level 1, and it's just everybody in quality engineering just chipping in. It's a lot of issues that we need to tack on, and hopefully this should help with your rerouting, Lyle. It's because if we see every new issue coming in, at least it should get some direction there to the right person. Okay. Any questions? Nope. Okay. The next one is from Christopher. I'll just verbalize it. We need to get a better okay, we need to get better labeling and definition of labeling. When I look in the handbook, there's nothing documented, and backstage needs to be better defined and potentially broken up. So I actually created this issue like 8 months ago, and I remember, Dali, we were talking about renaming backstage to impediments and everything that comes with it. There's a proposal to actually break down backstage, because I think it started from like, what is tech debt? What is backstage? That's like the hot topic item everywhere in every MR. People are confused. We use backstage because it sounds like a bigger umbrella. It covers more stuff. Like if you're upgrading to Rails 5, that's like best industrial standards. Like you need to go to the next, the long-term support or whatever. So open it up for discussions. What do people think here?
So just to clarify, is the request that we need to know within backstage what specific work is being done, or sorry, I'm missing, like, what is the ask?
I think we need to clear or define what subcategories under backstage is there, because oh hey,
yeah, I totally jumped in at the
right time.
Yes.
Well, either right or wrong time, I'm not sure.
No, the right time. I was asking for clarification on your item. Like, what is the ask? What are you looking for, so we can figure out where to go from here?
Yeah, so good question. So there's a couple things, I think. One is and there's probably 3 things in here that I kind of tried to fit in there that I've probably failed at. But the 3 things I'm thinking about is, one, we still have a lot of unidentified MRs, which feels like we have some probably cleaning up, or at least, getting people in the right mindset. And I'm not sure what the right method is to go about doing that, but I think that's something that we probably need to start thinking about is like, how do we close that gap? Even maybe going back and relabeling some MRs, say for the last month, just to see if we can get better to it. The second thing is when I looked around, I didn't see any place where we define the categories that we currently have. So I think, being more explicit about in the handbook is probably one thing we need to do around that. And then the last one is somebody asked me what backstage is, and I said, well, it's tech debt and anything that's related, semi-related to a feature, but not really directly related to a feature, which is me going like this, which feels, very much not like we've defined it crisply. And because it's a large portion, there was some feedback of, well, if it's really a tech debt versus everything else, maybe we break this up and kind of, dissect it that way. So
the good news is, Christopher, we actually started this conversation 8 months ago, and the issue is still open.
Yeah.
So where's the issue? You got it in
it's right there, issue 88.
Okay.
And I was confused also as well when I first joined. What is tech debt? What is backstage? Because they seem like cousins. And I think we ended up treating backstage as the umbrella, because under backstage, so it's like non-product facing changes, right? Like there's tech debt, and there's also like upgrading to like Rails 6 or like
performance issues and so on.
All those stuff.
Sorry, Mac.
So I think there's a proposal there to break up backstage, and technical debt falls under backstage, and there's like static analysis, CI config, and all that stuff. So a boring iteration here is, if it's tech debt, label it backstage, and we will dice further down the road. But if it's not a feature-facing thing, just put backstage, and that should help clean up.
What does it mean when it's backstage? I mean, beyond technical debt, how would you describe the other work?
Impediments is the other word that we came up with. We just, being that we already had a backstage label, we went with that. But it's what Mech was describing. We needed a category that is not security, because we did want to highlight that as a separate category. We know that bugs are well defined. We know features are well defined, and community contributions. So backstage is basically the nod of everything else. And a lot of times that is non-feature work and work that the team needs to do that is not visible to the user, or we wouldn't necessarily go and highlight that in a marketing doc. So the intent of this is still work that needs to be done. A lot of it is, like all of it still gets prioritized by PM, but it is not what they would classify as feature work.
And how are we determining? Does the PM just say, okay, you can just go do this, or are they arguing about what should be done versus not done, out of curiosity?
Yeah, PM is responsible for 100% prioritization, which means that we are responsible for execution, but they have to say within this release, yes, we can do this work.
Yeah, I'm just more curious, like how much is that really happening in the case of backstage work?
It's understandable, and we've talked about it with multiple managers and PMs, and it depends on really that relationship. So like at the time, Victor and Sean basically mentioned that they trust each other, and Victor will tell Sean, if you want to prioritize certain things, I'm fine with that. Just let me know what you're working on. I'm not sure that necessarily translate exactly the same way for every team, but the practice and the message is that PM absolutely is aware of what the team is working on, because they're responsible for that prioritization.
Okay.
So one more thing to add, and I know this was actually a really hard thing for people to, to get through, but I was adamant in saying, I know we want definition of what is in backstage, and that's great data, but the further down we break these labels, the messier our throughput chart is going to start to be. So I really fought to try to keep, these labels as much of a clear, large categories as we can. So just something to think about. Of course, we can adjust and iterate from here if this doesn't make sense. But I do want to, I still feel that within backstage, we can add further debugging. But if we start to break, these specific categories, it's going to start to be harder to track and see where our investments are going.
Yeah. Is it a reasonable that if we decide that we want to dig on a particular group on what they're doing in backstage, so we would go to the product manager and they should be able to articulate that aspect of it? You can just search their MRs with the label backstage by time, and you would get like what they were working. Yeah, but I'm more talking about, this is less about me being able to surface the information and more about, is the expectation the product manager is in a defendable position, right? Like, do they have enough comprehension of what they're team is doing to have an evaluation of that. That's kind of, I see Dahlia nodding, so I'm assuming you're agreeing with me, and that's kind of the thought process associated with it.
That absolutely is. And if it's not happening, we should have a conversation. I do want to enable our product team to feel comfortable with what the team is executing on. I mean, that's a big part of why we categorize throughput, because if the team throughput is in a good place, we should always be executing on the top priorities for PM. And if that's not happening, then we should talk about how things are getting prioritized.
So sorry to interrupt here, Dahlia. We do have a PM representative here, Jason Lenny, but he wasn't able to join this time. But I would assume this is what we should be discussing right here in this meeting, because all the stakeholders are here.
Yeah.
And if the time doesn't work out, maybe we should look at another representative from PM that can join this meeting regularly.
Yeah, no, that's great, Meg. That would be valuable.
Okay,
for sure.
So it sounds like the first step is to get our documentation in place and keep Backstage as is without a breakout.
Yes, and I think Mark linked a documentation, though it's not in the handbook. Correct, Mark? It's in the documentation itself. Is it there?
It's in the contributing guide. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the reasoning for putting it in the contribute guide was, but most of the the label descriptions are in that document.
I can't find Backstage there, so I think we still need to put it in the handbook. Most likely in the page where we list the metrics. Dahlia, I think you know what I'm talking about. Could probably.
Yeah, we have a throughput page. Sorry, Meg. We can definitely add it to the throughput page. I remember leaving out the definition because when you hover over a label, it gives you the definition, and I didn't want to start duplicating. Like, I didn't want it to be that they start to get out of sync when we update the label definition. But if we'd like to pull in the text and add it to that page, I can absolutely get that.
I'm actually okay with putting a reference into it and then maybe some commentary around it, because I think there's some aspects here that, like, this could be this is the workflow labels. MD, am I in the right place where that's defined?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. The one aspect I would say to this page is we put in there, we're very passive in regards, at least it's not jumping out at me, just kind of, and again, I'm scanning really fast. Thanks for everybody providing this information, because I couldn't find it. But we don't say what's required, right? Like, we're very passive. We're like, hey, here's labels. Most issues will have most of these. That's not being, that's not saying, hey, these ones are required, or, something to that effect, right? Kind of represents that. Like, in particular, the type.
I think to give the productivity team credit, they've been working on a lot of automation to enforce, adding labels as well as pre-populating with labels. So, I mean, it's valid feedback. We are working on it. We're trying to make this less of a manual step than it is right now. But yes, I agree with you. It's exactly why we see undefined, and we intentionally display undefined because we want to highlight that this is a level of effort that we want the teams to focus on.
Yeah. I mean, do you think we're at the right threshold where we could say, types required?
Yes. So
yes.
It's required by automation, but let's make it clear in the handbook and communicate it out. Why don't I do this? I'll take it up, and this is a low level hanging fruit for us, and I'll tag both you and Dahlia to review. I'll just add it to the handbook and also link to the issue 88 as well, that we are still ironing out what.
Okay, if you want to delegate subtasks to Dahlia or myself, Dahlia, I'm volunteering you, but don't hesitate. Like, if you want us to update the workflows page versus the handbook, or however you want to do it, we'll figure out the best way. And then getting communication out will definitely help with that.
I have all the information already. I'll just take it on. I'll tag you both for review this time around, and then the next time iterate.
Thank you, Mac.
I posted the running doc from 2018. Credit to whatever Dahlia said. I'm iterating the same thing. She pointed out that, hey, let's not explode these labels. And what we came up with originally under Backstage was 2 categories. One is architecture, anything that is regards to like moving code around, that's architecture. And then industry, which is like new technically industry standards. It's still up for discussion. So I'm going to put this into the issue 88 as well, and we can take it there, how we want to iterate forward.
Is this for the tooling within the tool?
No, this is just coming up with the definitions. Like,
okay, just
kind of break up Backstage.
Right.
What do you want to see?
I'm okay leaving it as is. I just like I want to like we need to have a method to basically say, okay, we want to dig on this, this area. What's the right way to think about it? Is it go to the engineering manager, or be more explicit about going to the engineering manager versus going to the product manager for that area.
Okay.
And if a product manager does feel like there's an area, like that would be the one thing, is if they feel like they need to better breakdown, then that would be a feedback for us.
Okay. I will get on that today. Cool.
Well, I didn't mean to give you the action item.
No. I am very passionate about organizing things, and it's just up there. So I'll jump in and do it today.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Well, since you're here, we don't have a crystal ball. Since you join us, do you want to let us know how you feel about the numbers? The first two persistence links, we went through it, but we don't.
You don't have a crystal ball. Come on.
No.
So the dashboards themselves, are you talking about the metrics for the month?
Yes. Well, so here, why don't I share the screen, and then you let us know what your pulse is on the situation. So this is so let's start with this first. This is the MR per author per month charts.
Yeah. So we're at 1504. Is that correct? Or no, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong one. Yeah. So if you take 9, which is essentially previous month, and you multiply it by 0.77, I might still have this up, you get 6.93, which is, what are we at today? Can you hover?
6.88.
Yeah, so we're within the boundary of error, roughly. We're a little bit below. We still have 1 day to go, so it'll be interesting to see if we pick up any increase basically between now and Saturday, essentially. Actually, a day and a half to go. From that perspective. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. How did I get 0.77? That's the drop off that we had, the average of the previous 2 contributes. I'm associated with that.
Okay.
So
let's do go ahead.
We're pretty close on that one.
Hmm.
And then if you do the same math for the MRs per month,
yes,
we actually we're having a blowout month, which is we're at 1779 and we're at 1504. And if you do 1779 by 0.77, you get 1366, which is what I think I predicted at the beginning of the month. And we're over that by a good amount. That's in the, including community contributions. That one I flip it and do based on contributions.
Yes. Cool.
Yeah. So my crystal ball says, good month, kind of where we expected to land from that perspective.
Yes. The comment from Dahlia before was that our team felt energized after contribute. And I think that's also a factor of getting more things done as well.
Oh, that's really cool. Stan said he was having, gosh, I don't want to use this term because it had absolutely nothing to do with alcohol, but he was hungover from contribute, so it wasn't as effective the week after.
Cool. Alrighty then. I think we're at the end. Should we review the exit criteria and then close out? Let me try this again. Okay, I think, 1 second, let me just try my screen again. Okay. I think we should start scoring them with the fat arrow, saying if this is already achieved, then you can just let me know here, and then I'll make an update to this page. So I think this is roughly done, correct, Christopher? Are we at 20% already? Sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. 20% is roughly 10 MRs on average. So we're getting there. We're not quite there. We've definitely increased throughput by 20%. But when this was originally drafted, or the intent associated with it is really get us back to kind of similar productivity to what we saw a number of months ago. So we either have to come up with a good reasoning behind why we'll stay at, like, say, the 9 bar, or if we'll hit about 10. But we're getting close. And we should close up at this quarter. Okay. And I don't think there's anything specifically this team needs to do around it at this point, other than continuing continuous improvement within the development teams.
Okay. The second one, KPIs. You want to update, or maybe Christopher? There are multiple efforts here.
Yeah, my update is that we have them in dashboards. The dashboards are going to change over time, but still we have to define KPIs for the 2 top runners. And the last thing that we need to do is just establish the baselines for them, which would actually get into level 4. So I need to get that documented. One of the things that we have is a KPI meeting that started up that Eric has, and I need to just figure out where we're going to go document that. So I have an action item from that perspective. So one where we're documenting KPIs, and then go basically document those 2, and then we'll be able to close that one out.
All right, sounds good. Did we touch on the interventions already? I think that's kind of packaged together. Anybody want to verbalize? Training
I think the main thing there is Dahlia and I need to start working on the training, and we haven't, at least to my knowledge, I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah, and Mech as well. I mean, you have ideas around the grooming and planning, so we'll put a set of them together and see, is this a good place to say that we have some training done?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I have the next one. So we saw P95's S1, S2 lower to 188, though Tanya pointed out that we had a lower number of bugs resolved here as well. So I don't want to call improvements as of yet, so we'll continue to monitor this. This is still using Tanya's super beefed up automated Google spreadsheet. So we haven't automated this yet, but at least we have metrics going in, and it seems to be improving, though we need to monitor it. Ensure our customers facing bugs has a severity level. We haven't gotten started this yet. Our plan is to have like a one-time triage package and a list of all customer bugs, and just ask the PMs to go through the list with us. Gather, resolve S1, S2 KPIs in an automated fashion. Mark is currently working on this. We'll provide more updates in the next week. And this is going to be in the quality dashboard, because we want to measure on the existing population, like the MRs and also the bugs. And then next iteration, we will put it in GitLab native once the exclusion mechanism is in. Effective iteration to current stage group triage package reporting is still in flux. We're working on it. No updates here yet. And I also have a training that I need to roll out to use the priority and severity labels. Jensen is currently working on the 4x4 heat map, and that's going to be the dependency to get the training started. So, because that's like your 2 levers, how you use 2 levers together, and not just a lockstep of S1, P1 or S2, P2s. Any follow-up from anybody? We're good? Okay then. Thank you everybody for your time and contributions. I'll see you all next week. And thanks for being kind on the first time I'm doing this as a rookie. Thank you.
You did great, Meg. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome work.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.